Hi, welcome to our daily encounter. Today we finish the book of Numbers, and in chapter 35 we have the cities of refuge, and these have been mentioned several times before in the book of Numbers, but hadn't really talked about them much here in the devotions, so thought we might talk about them now. These cities of refuge were very important for the Israelites at the time. This was a way in which God protected people who may have killed another person on accident. It was a way to keep them from being killed by the family member of the person that you accidentally killed. It was a place also where the Levites lived. It was part of the cities that the Levites would have and where they lived in the surrounding area around the city. And you could go there and you had to stay there until the high priest died. Once the high priest died, you were free to go. And so you can imagine the relief you might have as an Israelite if, let's say, one day you're out chopping wood and your axe head flies off of your axe handle and it ends up hitting somebody and killing them. And the family's furious at you. They want to execute judgment against you. It would be a great relief to know that, hey, I have somewhere to go. I have somewhere to go where I will be protected. And that's really, in essence, the same feeling that we have when we take refuge in Jesus Christ. You know, when we recognize the fact that whether we intentionally or unintentionally sinned against God, we had incurred His wrath, His vengeance upon us because we have violated His commands. And it's a very comforting thing to know that we can take refuge in Him. As a matter of fact, even the psalmist, way before Jesus even came here and lived on earth, prophesied about this in Psalms chapter 2 and verse 12, where he says, "Do homage to the Son, that he will not become angry, and you perish in the way, for his wrath may soon be kindled." And then listen to this. It says, "How blessed are all who take refuge in him." So as you think about these cities of refuge, you could think about the fact that Jesus Christ, in a sense, is our city of refuge. He's a place that we can go to and find protection. He is our high priest. You know, with the city of refuge, you were to stay there until the high priest died. Well, guess what? We have a high priest that will never die, that will never perish. He is our high priest forever. And so he will forever be, in a sense, our city of refuge that will never cease to be. 1,000 years from now, millions of years from now, we will have that place in heaven with our Father because of Jesus Christ, and only because of Jesus Christ as our high priest. But then also implied in these cities of refuge, as mentioned before with the Levites being there, is something we can relate to the church. Remember, we talked about in a previous devotion about the Levites were very symbolic of the church. Well, the fact that these cities of refuge were actually also, I guess you could call them Levitical cities, where the Levites would stay, we could also relate this to the church. We as a church ought to be places of refuge for people. When people come, and they come with a repentant heart, you know they've messed up, maybe even after they've become Christians, you know, they've fallen away into sin, they've done some bad things, they should be able to come to the church and find refuge. Unfortunately, a lot of times when they go to the church, they find perhaps judgment, and maybe their guilt actually becomes worsened as they come to the church confessing their sins. That should never be the case. Now, if a person is being rebellious and they just want to sin and they want to live in that sin, of course, there's ways of dealing with that as found in the New Testament. But when a person really wants to find a place of refuge, a place where they can feel that they are accepted, the church ought to be that place. We should be a city of refuge. So like the Levites would have surrounded the city, we as a church should surround those people who come to us seeking refuge, seeking rest, so that we can be a picture to them of the refuge that they have in Jesus Christ. The way that we treat them should reflect the way that Jesus treats them in His forgiveness and in His acceptance of them. And so these are just some things to think about as you read through this chapter about the cities of refuge. Hopefully it's been helpful to you. I thank you for watching the video. Hope you guys have a great day, a great Sunday. I love you guys. God bless.